I'm Anna.
I'm Ben.
We're AutoSave. Welcome to our channel.
Today we're watching Madoka Magica Season 1, Episode 6. Anna, can I tell you why I'm uneasy?
Why are you uneasy, Ben?
I don't know. I'm trying to tell you in hopes that you will be able to diagnose me and give me hope. Because although Homura just arrived, I still am just afraid for Sayaka's life. I feel as if Homura's presence interrupting this battle with Kyoko should ease my worry that Sayaka's gonna get bodied. But for some reason, I don't have that, and I don't know if it's because of love or insanity.
You might be blinded a little bit, but I would say that there would be obviously the point of Homura showing up here is to ensure that our lovely Madoka doesn't become a magical girl. And if there's any possibility that Sayaka will still be in harm's way, then Homura is not doing what she is hoping to achieve here. So if your uneasiness is that Sayaka will not be okay, that would mean that in this episode, Madoka becomes a magical girl.
Okay.
Does that make you feel better?
No.
Okay.
Ready?
Oops. Yeah.
Sweet. God, it's so fucking cool. Come on. Damn right. Kind of magic. Oh!
But like Kyubei said, neither of them would have quit, so... Knew her whole name.
Yeah. Homer's getting in her head. Loser. Leaving. Homer is just that cool.
Saved you. Drastic measures. Ah! Gotta love leading it out of a ... into an intro.
Like, I feel as if we don't have enough information to know what Homura would be, but that has no effect on my curiosity and wanting to figure out what the fuck she is with only the information we have. I'm like, nope, not a witch. Nope, not akin to Kyubei, but like a human.
She's something that's getting in the way of what Kyubei...
What if she was like
She's
the original
something.
magical girl in this world? Like she was the first one or something. But how would she become that without Kyubei? And it's dangerous now.
No. Eat it out of your back? It's like almost forcing her to go against her morals.
Madoka.
それ本当？ああ、だから
It's like coercion. Try to convince your best friend. Now Homura and Sayaka are both like almost in the same position of wanting to keep Madoka out of it.
Okay.
Secret? Is that what we see in the first episode at the beginning?
I think so. What is the animation around her feet? When she's touching it, it's... Oh my god. Jesus, Sayaka.
Chills. They're... oh my god.
Even if they happen to be magical girls.
But if you...
I am so scared. I don't like that. It's pretty cool.
Wow.
Wow.
Wow. Further from happiness they go. Sometimes they do, sometimes
Especially
they
at
don't.
first.
She already asked you if you were willing. Or be misunderstood
Holy
by her.
shit. Ooh.
So many good lines.
Jesus, Mom.
どんどん間違うのが難しくなっちゃうんだ。ものが増えるほど下手を打てなくなってく。それって辛くない？大人は誰だって辛いの。だから酒飲んでもいいってことになってんの。私も早くママとお酒飲んでみたいな。さっさと大きくなっちゃいな。酒楽しいぞ、大人は。
Wow. Madoka's mom.
さんなら昨日退院したわよ。
That's good.
リハビリの経過も順調だったから予定が前。愛もしないで帰るのちょいかけ回したくせに。
Oh no.
知ってるよ、坊やなんだろ。あんたがキューベイと契約
Oh.
って奇跡のチャンスを食ったらねことに使い潰しよ。
Don't come at that.
お前なんかに何がわかる？分かってねえの。そう鉄頭鉄尾自分だけの望みを叶えるためのもんなんだよ。萌えマミはそんなことも教えてくれなかったのかい？得た男をものにするならもっと冴えた手があるじゃない。入れた魔法でさ。何？今すぐ乗り込んでいってもう二度と使えないぐらいに潰してやりな。あんたなしでは何もできない体にしてやるんだよ。今度こそ坊やはあんたのもんだ。身も心も全部。
Awful character. I hate Kyoko.
私が代わりに引き受けてもいい魔法少女のよしみだ。お安いご用さ。お前だけは絶対に許さない。今度こそ必ず。ここじゃ人目につきそうだ。
What about what Homura said?
この子の分まで誰かが間違えてあげればいい。
What?
さやかが危ない。ついてきて。
I don't like Sayaka's in trouble, but I look like I have a little cute smile on my face.
I don't like Kyoko. What a fucking cool place.
What about Homura saying we were gonna do this peacefully?
Her outfit's kind of cool.
そもそもマドカは関係ないんだから。ダメだよこんなの。うざいやつにはうざい仲間がいるもんだね。じゃああなたの仲間はどうなのかしら。話が違うわ。
She went against what they agreed on.
手ぬるすぎるんだよ。どの道向こうはやる。私が相手をする。手出ししないで。じゃあこいつを食い終わるまで待って。なめるんじゃないわよ。さやかちゃんごめん。
Holy shit!
あんたなんてこと。だってこうしないと。さやかちゃん。今のはまずかったよ、マドカ。友達を放り投げるなんてどうかしてるよ。
That's her soul.
何なの？やめて。どういうことだおい。こいつ死んでるじゃねえかよ。
That was literally her life.
さやかちゃん。ねえ。さやかちゃん。起きて。ねえ。どうしたの？ねえ。嫌だよこんなの。何がどうなってやがんだ。おい。君たち魔法少女が体をコントロールできる。せいぜい100メートル圏内が限度だからね。
She's learning something?
何のことだ。どういう意味だ。普段は当然肌身入ってるんだから。こういう事故はめったにあることじゃないんだ。何言ってるのよキューベ。助けてよ。さやかちゃんを死なせないで。マドカ、そっちはさやかじゃなくてただの抜け殻なんだって。さやかはさっき君が投げて捨てちゃったじゃないか。ただの
Homura,
人間と同
please.
じ壊れやすい体のままで魔女と戦ってくれなんて。たち魔法少女にとって元の体なんていうのは外付けのハードウェアです。
Exterior hardware.
君たちの本体としての魂には強く運用できるコンパクトで安全な姿が与えられている。魔法 魔法少女との契約を取り結ぶ僕の役目はね、君たちの魂を抜き取ってソウルジェムに変えることなのさ。なんてことは。ふざけんじゃねえ。ゾンビにされたようなもんじゃないか。むしろ便利だろ。心臓が破れてもありったけの血を抜かれてもだは魔力で修理すればすぐまた動くようにな
They're
る。
like dolls.
ソウルジェムさえ砕かれない限りは無敵だよ。弱点だらけの人体の戦いでは有利じゃないか。いや、そんなの。
That's more unhuman than they thought they were.
君たちはいつもそうだね。事実をありのままに使って同じ反応をする。魂のありかにこだわるんだい。
She tried so hard to get it back.
何？何なの？
She just woke up as soon as it was placed in her hand.
Okay, that was Madoka Magica, Season 1, Episode 6.
Yes, it was.
Something, you were kind of right. Something kind of happened to make me hate Kyoko a little less. Not in any type of way I assumed you'd intend it to be, and that was just her lack of knowledge about this whole fucking situation.
Mm-hmm. Isn't that great to, like, turn that and twist it? This idea that, oh yes, this character Kyoko has so much more experience, and that is Kyubei's reasoning to Sayaka of one of the reasons other than natural talent that Kyoko is such a threat to Sayaka is because of the experience. But learning then that Kyoko doesn't even know all of the, as Kyubei says, simple facts of the situation.
And the fact that Homura reacted the way that she did, as quick as she did, obviously has a lot of information in of itself.
Mm-hmm.
But if Homura didn't do what she did, or she did and it didn't work, and Madoka killed her best friend by throwing her soul into the bed of a truck, I would have left this room. I would have left this house. Might have left the state. Like, I'm devastated, and I'm still very worried about what Sayaka is waking up into. But, Jesus fuck.
I mean, I know Madoka's mom said it's better to be misunderstood, but obviously Madoka would never have intentionally thrown the actual Sayaka away. But it's clear after this episode from more than one point that Homura, as an irregularity, as something we can't understand exactly how her magic works, knows way more than any of the other characters in the show, and either the same amount as Kyubei or more than Kyubei, with the fact that they know of some, we're gonna have to pull it up because I don't know what that word was, and it started with a W. And then here at the end, she reacted so quickly because she knew as soon as the soul gem was thrown what it was. She knows the truth of what they are.
I have so much I want to talk about. Let's start from the beginning, right? Just because that might make a little more sense in how I'm digesting things at the moment, because I'm a wreck.
Your beloved Sayaka.
I love this show to death. This is such a great show. I'm so thankful for whoever suggested or picked or thought that we might like this. Who knows? When you're a reaction channel, like, popular things are suggested, right? So you don't know if, like, it's suggested because it's, like, loved by a lot of people, which is a great thing to do, and you want to share that, or if it's like, oh, I feel like these people would really appreciate it or really fall in love with it. And whether or not there was intention in that regard, I have fallen in love with the show so hard, and I really appreciate anybody who suggested the show, because it's a joy to watch. It literally is the highlight of my day when we get to watch this. But
a testament to
enough yapping.
A testament to how much that I'm enjoying the show. You just said no more yapping, and I'm like, shit, I had stuff to say.
Oh, sorry.
Now I feel
You should
bad.
have your turn to yap, too.
Yeah, I deserve to yap, too. So my little yap that I'm going to go on is that clearly I am loving the show so much so far that I was at work the other day and you were also at work and I texted you being like, I wish that I could already get a Madoka Magica tattoo.
Yeah.
And then I could look up, what other people have gotten as tattoos from the show. Obviously, I can't do that until the show is over, but I really was strongly desiring and wishing I could see what probably awesome tattoos people have gotten of the show. I feel like if someone has gotten a tattoo of the show, there's probably some cool ones out there. I can already tell that.
But for the same reason as last night when setting up your new computer, I couldn't look up Madoka Magica 4K wallpapers. We can't risk being spoiled by anything, so we can't Google it, of course.
Yes, so I had to, it's not even settling, so I'm not going to make a joke being like I had to settle, but I made it Makise Kurisu from Steins Gate.
Yeah. Good choice.
But I probably would have gone with Madoka Magica as my desktop background if we had finished this show so far, but...
Kyoko Sakura. That's the full name of Kyoko. I hate her still. I hate her. If it had nothing to do with Sayaka, DDR and Pokey, we can have that conversation at a later date. But Sayaka is a part of this. I fucking hate Kyoko. But Kyoko Sakura.
They really were giving her some things that made me want to look over at you and be like, really? That's not doing anything for you? They literally had her dancing on like a DDR game. I was like, okay, come on. Ben has to like
If it
this.
was Guitar Hero, it might have broken
maybe
through.
It would have been like
And I respect DDR and I love DDR, but it does not question my love for Sayaka.
That is fair. I understand that. But yes, we got her whole name.
Yeah, and in talking to Homura is saying if reasoning with a fool won't work, I'll turn to more drastic measures in regards to not only Kyoko, but Sayaka and what Madoka's doing as well. Now, it doesn't, to me, I didn't get any answers to what those drastic measures were.
Especially when she phrases what she wants to do later on as more peaceful.
Yeah.
So what to her is drastic yet much kinder than what Kyoko wants to do.
Yeah. But we get Kyubei here. This is like a massive revelation to me without being any revelation. Is Homura Akemi, could it be that your ... question mark. The idea that Kyubei didn't know and still isn't certain of what Homura is a revelation to me, and I'm very happy about it. I'm very happy about it.
I do like that Homura exists in this space, that even what is somewhat... So, like, there's no god in this universe being introduced, but Kyubei is somewhat of that, filling that slot or role in universe right now for us, because there is the fact that it is this alien creature that can give contracts and knows things that we don't know, and it introduces us into this world that the humans didn't even know existed. But for there to be something that Kyubei doesn't even know is a really, really great thing to have happen here, and it's very compelling.
I don't want to get too much into like the subtitle of it, but the UR is specific to me because in terms of like language context, it almost sounds like a title or a person would be after that rather than a group of people. And I think I'm reading probably too far into that, but I'm so curious as to what Homura actually is, how old she might be, how long she's been, whatever she is, like, you know, how she has knowledge that others don't, and she keeps it close to her chest of how she gets that knowledge.
I think what it does is it opens up the world even more than it already was in terms of scaling. Like, we are giving... Kyubei seems to us to be the definition of the scale of the magical girl's world. Because we have this creature that is giving contracts to people who have their own territories where they're fighting these witches, saving tons of human lives while also getting their greatest wishes granted. There's a scaling there that is pretty big, but I feel like this idea that something else exists that is outside of Kyubei's control or knowledge, or is something other to him that he doesn't have complete knowledge of, like doesn't know for sure what if Homura is what he's thinking she is until this moment. The world is opening up even more. The gravity, maybe even, is it just witches? Like, it starts opening more questions up. Like, what really is the hierarchy? What really is the antagonist or the villain? Is it more than just what we've simply been given by Kyubey and what we've seen so far?
That's such an interesting point to bring up, because Homura not only is something that Kyubey isn't aware of, potentially, or isn't certain of. Homura has a similar ability as Kyubey in being able to see that inner potential, that inward potential that people are born with, as well as Homura knowing what and who Kyubey was before the other way around. Homura went after Kyubey from the beginning of it, you know?
I just had a really cool thought about a wish that Homura could have made. What if you were created to be a magical girl in the future from this moment? We're gonna get there to some creature coming, some W word coming in the future. What if it's like you are a magical girl and the wish you made was some sort of a time travel-esque, that you could go back and stop someone or other girls from becoming magical girls? That you could go, and that's why you have knowledge of what is to come, and you are an irregularity, you're almost a time paradox, if you will.
It could kind of like lean into the idea of the first scene being something that was Homura and Madoka sharing, like a moment that would be a yet to come.
And a dream sense, yes, a yet to come. A scene seeing from the future. But are you seeing this scene from the future as Madoka is having a prophetic dream, or are you seeing something through the eyes of someone who has already seen it?
That's so interesting to think about, because then you'd have to recontextualize every interaction with Mommy. You'd have to think about, like, oh, this is why she would know where Kyubey is. This could be, like, that would be so interesting.
Sayaka saying that Homura let Mommy die.
Yeah.
What if, I know it's crazy to go there, but we have been told that you can make whatever wish you want to make.
What if you knew somebody who was, like, what if Sayaka did die here, and Madoka's wish was, I wish that I had the power to end anybody from being a magical girl and wishes to be a magical girl. Like, what if Homura had witnessed and seen what was done to somebody that she cared about and made a wish to be able to interrupt this process from continuing?
Right, like if Homura wasn't involved in the story, Madoka would have become a magical girl already.
Oh yeah. Probably, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think that there's a few moments for sure that because honestly, if we go back to even last episode, the episode before the one that we just watched, episode 5, I think Kyoko would have beat Sayaka if Homura didn't show up.
No, you think Kyoko would have beat Sayaka?
Yes.
No, for sure. But I'm trying to unpack what you said about Homura, because Mommy still would have been there. Mommy gave the advice of being able to, like, sit with it and like think about it because of how drastic this is.
But that would not have kept Madoka, especially with the buildup of her wanting to be there, having a plan. Kyubey being like, I know you have a plan. That's why you want to come on the witch hunts with Sayaka. You want to be there for the moment that she would possibly need you, and then you'll make your wish.
I would think that the wish would come, whether it's from Sayaka or Madoka, probably upon Mommy's death or when she was about to die, because that's when Homura stepped in to save them and stop them from making a wish there.
I feel like it might have been Sayaka in that case. And then I feel like for Madoka, if Homura wasn't around, it would have been the moment in episode 5.
Now that you said, like, I don't actually think this is the case, but I think it's so fascinating to bring up, like, time, because, like, what if Madoka ends up being some calamity herself at some point, somehow, and Sayaka, like, had been sent back or wished to be, or not Sayaka, sorry, Homura had, like, wished for in the future to, like, be given some power to be able to try to mitigate that from ever happening.
Right. I have 2 points to jump off from that. Firstly, I want to talk about how Madoka as a character is very hesitant. Mm-hmm. So that definitely is leading to me believing of maybe when exactly she would have taken upon the magical girl contract, and that Sayaka would have probably been first. In my opinion, I still think she would have been first, because Madoka is much more like, I don't know if it's hesitation necessarily, but this moment in this episode is really the first time we see Madoka, other than the throwing the bucket out. It's like we have seen her act immediately, but when it comes down to a time of making a contract, there's a lot of lag period where someone else then has time to come in and either rescue or be the one that makes the choice.
What if you wished that Madoka never had a wish that she'd want to make? Like, because the thing that's keeping her and that indecisiveness comes from not having a wish that's strong enough to be made, and the closest we get to it is her desire to save her friends.
Right. But I did want to go into something that you had said about what if she herself was or could be a calamity. I know it's going into further on into the episode, but I feel like it needs to be said now in this moment with that in mind of what you've already brought up, that if they are just empty shells and their existence is within an object that can be held, what happens if something else or someone else gets a hold of their soul gem? Is it possible to control a magical girl? Is it possible to convert a magical girl, create it to be almost corrode it, if you will? Is it possible to take something with such great natural talent, and the possibilities are endless for what Madoka could be, and make her into the ultimate witch, the ultimate villain?
That's an interesting point, because actually, I think this is a great jumping off point to go into, because we get some specific dialogue from Kyubey at the scene that I'm about to pull up that I think could be pertinent to that conversation. So we get Kyubey opening up its back to eat a grief seed, whatever. That happened, and then that goes into a conversation about what's so important to keep your soul gem clean, and that being how Kyoko was as powerful as they were. But when turning here, there was a line that Kyubey said about things being turned into witches, right? Who's that? This is my fight after all. Don't want to let her get dragged into this. There, you should be alright now. It's pitch black, and it's dangerous now. If it absorbs any more impurity, a witch could hatch from it. So they would be hatching from the grief seed itself, right? So it would kind of be on the other end of that spectrum that you're talking about. Like if a soul gem...
They're the same shape.
Yeah. If a soul gem was taken by somebody else or able to be manipulated and used, like, we knew what happened to Sayaka's body at the end of the episode, right? But we didn't really understand what was going on with the soul gem side of things. Was Sayaka's consciousness in there? Was it just that potential of power? So referring that to Madoka, like, that's terrifying. That's a terrifying thought.
I think when we get Kyoko even equating it to zombies, but you could go anywhere from that direction in terms of starting to begin to theorize or try to understand for yourself as Kyoko tries to grasp onto something easily accessible within her mind in terms of media, that to equate and create some sort of comparison in order to understand her circumstance. She goes with zombies. What about brainwashing? What about what's the real difference between magical girls and witches? Like,
yeah.
Okay.
Kyoko has a great inborn talent, plus plenty of experience. The idea of that inborn talent that's, like, referencing how powerful Madoka would be, how powerful Mami was, and where Sayaka lands there is so interesting to me, because it implies that, yeah, strength definitely comes with experience, but you can get, like, a huge head start depending on where your inborn talent is.
If anything, it makes me infuriated a little bit, is starting to really enjoy the characters in the show, but also, like, being so suspicious of Kyubey. But I can't put, like, human emotions onto Kyubey, obviously.
Yeah.
But it's so, like, makes me sad, makes me frustrated that Sayaka is here in this conversation about everyone else having more talent than her and maybe more just like more possibility of success as a magical girl, and yet she wasn't even the one that Kyubey was seeking.
Mm-hmm.
She wasn't even the one that Homura was seeking to warn.
Mm-hmm.
She was like one no one was considering. That's how like insignificant she was. She was just in circumstance around Madoka, therefore around Kyubey, and just so happened to have something in her heart that Kyubey saw and was like, okay, she has a desire, I can make her a magical girl.
Yeah.
But she doesn't have what she needs. She was not meant to survive this or be this. And I feel like it's so sad to have a character be in a circumstance that we know that she's almost not meant to survive. And the only way that she could survive it, from what you're telling me, is if someone else saves her. Because if she doesn't have the talent to survive not only the other magical girl, like if she can't survive the other magical girls, what about the things that they're hunting that they die from, the witches?
And like the idea Kyubey gives her of how you can, a way to mitigate that and get around that, directly contradicts her way of thinking and her morals and her morality here. She doesn't want to be collecting or like waiting for grief seeds and
for
shit.
Familiars to turn into she doesn't want to wait until they've killed 4
waste
to 5
lives.
people.
It's unfair. I understand the frustration there. I want to talk about the DDR scene. Number one, I like that they were able to keep it DDR by making the game dog drug reinforcement. That's definitely a thing. Number two, I was questioning what it was during the episode and watching it, because every time Kyoko would step, we'd see something come up and rise up from her feet. And upon pausing it, you see that it's like a sort of hologram every time she steps. Now, that's definitely not for us. That is in real life. In this universe, my interpretation is that when you step on it, it is a actual hologram in front of you. I think that what proves that point is the keyboard that we see Madoka using later in the episode.
I was thinking that right when you brought up this point, I was like, well, they are painting a more futuristic kind of living situation, and the keyboard later on gave me pause when I saw it at first. Yeah, there's these little things popping up when she's getting what are like the rewards, like she is hitting everything
each
correctly.
Step, yeah. God, that's so fucking cool, dude. Well, this is around the time that we get the name, right?
The name? Her name?
No.
The
Walpurgisnacht. No guesses. None.
I mean, they even put it in quotes in the subtitles.
I'm gonna write it down.
Okay.
But, like, I have no clue what the etymology of that word is, nor do I have any guesses about what it is going to be.
Or if it exists out of this universe and maybe even in our own. Maybe.
I can't tell if it's a predestined event or a being. Like, could it be akin to like Ragnarok, like a prophecy of something happening, or a witch itself, as we alluded to thinking that this could be whatever this is, it could be what we saw at the beginning of episode 1.
And Homura believes that it'd be good if there were 2 magical girls to deal with this scenario, which also could lend to the beginning of the first episode, as Homura is fighting it alone and Madoka walks up, and there is the idea that is now the time that Madoka would join her in this fight because no one else could.
Does this have anything to do with the more drastic measures in like a peaceful type of way? Like the idea of like Homura's intention of wanting to defeat this thing, Homura showing up in the town in the first place, her willing to come to Kyoko to talk about it, as well as us getting told previously more drastic measures, and then Homura herself says if they are able to defeat it, after saying that her knowledge is a secret, she will leave this town and leave Kyoko in charge. Like, could it have like any, like, defeating that would somehow yield a result that would nip the idea of Madoka. I don't know.
I mean, honestly, her coming here to deal with it and roping Kyoko into the scenario, keeping some sort of teammate energy, even though magical girls are against it, in order to defeat it, is completely to keep both Sayaka and Madoka out of it. Because if we give Kyoko this territory and we keep Homura here for this event, then the two other magical girl and then possible magical girl here wouldn't be involved.
Yeah.
And that is trying to keep them alive while also, as Kyoko has said in the future, I believe, that she likes to do things a little more for herself.
Mm-hmm.
And this could be very good for herself if she succeeds here.
But, like, what if, like, Walpurgisnacht and Kyubey are intertwined, and with the coming of that leads Kyubey to arrive in a city, and within that event happening is the only chance of a magical girl being offered a contract for some reason or another. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know about that. Seems like he comes to you as soon as he can coerce you into making a contract because you're in a car accident or something.
That argument, fight, discussion.
The distance.
Yeah. But I'm more talking about the Madoka Sayaka conversation at where Kyoko and Sayaka fought.
Yeah, that's why I said the distance. It's the whole conversation feels very, there's already a separation here between you and me.
Yeah. And it's like, it's so well done because I can totally see where Sayaka's coming from, and that makes everything so much harder.
Mm-hmm.
And like what this is doing to the memory of mommy that we've heard through Madoka that she wants to keep alive, you know?
Mm-hmm.
God.
It is very magical girl protagonist trope-ish to be maybe more of the crybaby type, to be more of the quick to the tears or emotional reaction over when people are in an opposition and they don't want everyone to be fighting with each other, or even if they're scared, or if they're just quicker to tears. I feel like a lot of the time that is more like of a trope for a magical girl, is that but I think what it shows is they are a young kid being put with this ginormous rock of responsibility and burden on their back.
I think it could also be, if that's the trope, that what is most fragile can be most refined, right? If you are that fragile but are able to overcome it with the way that you're thinking or acting about it, then your resolve will be stronger than those who already started out okay. And
the growth is more entertaining in terms of a viewing sense. The growth of someone who initially is a crybaby that needs other people, that hesitates enough that other people like a character personality like Sayaka running in with a bat head first, that you, not intentionally, but it ends up that everyone else always acts before you. Everyone else already knows what they want. Everyone else already knows what wish. Everyone is already running in. Everyone's already prepared.
You'll learn more from waiting, though.
Yeah.
Obviously. Who's the one person without the contract here and doesn't have their body turned into a vessel?
And she's learning before she makes the decision. Everything she's learning all of this.
I bet you that pissed Kyubey off that Madoka had to learn about this before signing a contract.
And he might not think like that.
Yeah.
It's hard to figure out exactly how he might think or view situations. Like, he's not a character that, like I've said before, we can put human emotions on to try to understand. And when we think of new scenarios, we'd be able to call upon that knowledge and be like, that's how he'd feel or act in this scenario. Because he's like phrasing it like, oh, well, these are just simple facts. No one just thought to ask. It's whatever. Like, he's like, oh, humans are always like this.
Before we leave this scene, though, I definitely want to shout out the line from Sayaka saying that if there are humans who are, if there are humans who are worse than the witches out there, I'll fight them too, even if they happen to be magical girls. I love that line a lot. Then my next favorite shot or scene is when Madoka is laying in bed and we get to see how showers work. Man, how cool.
The elevators, the showers.
It's extraordinary, isn't it? Like,
at first, do you want to know what I thought was happening when we were hearing sounds in the house of someone coming in?
yeah.
I thought it was Homura.
Ah.
I don't know why. I thought, especially because Homura would have been leaving, talking to Kyoko. I thought that because Madoka had come to Homura previously, being like, save Sayaka, that this would be a time that Homura would then be like, I have a plan in order to protect Sayaka.
Yeah.
But obviously.
I didn't think it was Homura, but I didn't think it was her mom, based solely off of, like, the creepy, like, close-ups we got of all of Madoka's stuffed animals. And I now understand why she doesn't find Kyubey as creepy as I find Kyubey, because she's already been desensitized to them as...
I mean, she's sleeping with all these stuffed animals looking at her.
So, okay, I really want to talk about the shower. What's your interpretation of it? So the top, like, starting at the top left, that's gotta be time of day. 1 a.m.
It's 1 a.m.
Under that.
Amount of water? Either the amount of water that is coming, that you have left in your shower before you have to refill a tank, like a water tank.
I don't know, like,
how rainy your rain shower is.
I wonder if, like, because I assume the shower is going to be starting out cold. I wonder if, like, as it would get hotter, these blue lines would become more red and orange.
That could be cool.
But I don't know what purpose it would serve other than, like, visually aesthetic.
Well, what it would tell you is, oh, I don't want to step in there because, you know, okay, so if I saw there's numbers below that are telling you, like, the degrees of the water. As a visual person who doesn't like numbers, I would much prefer if I saw colors changing to represent what the water temperature might feel like.
Blue cold, wait until red. Like that?
I think I'd get in. The bottom color is like this light mint color.
I'd assume that's colder than the purple.
Really? Oh, because it's getting red?
Yeah. But again, it's not on yet. We haven't turned up the heat yet. Because...
She might take cold showers.
Because we've set the temperature. The temperature's already been set at 40, right? But the actual temperature is 39. Now, as she pushes onto the screen and drags it to the right, then she's resetting the temperature to 45, but the 39 degrees hasn't changed yet. So interesting. And that leads me into, I think, my favorite line of dialogue in the entire... Or not even line. The entire interaction between Madoka and her mom, I want to talk about because it was so well done.
You don't have to ask or tell me twice. I totally want to talk about this scene entirety as well.
One of my friends is in a lot of trouble. I don't think anything she's doing or saying is wrong. But even though she keeps trying so hard to do the right thing, the more that she tries, the worse things get for her. And... It's not even Madoka's lines that I really want to talk about. It's more just the response, because we obviously understand where Madoka's coming from. Just
before we get, like, into the responses, this is just, like, a little, like, an umbrella to put this whole conversation under, is that this is a mom that just got home from work at 1 a.m.
Yeah.
And so she's so late, she didn't even eat dinner. Dinner was left in the fridge for her by her very loving husband. And now get into the fact that this mother is actually listening happily to every single thing her daughter says and addressing it with poise and just with insight.
You are very right. I grew up with parents who had very late hours because they worked in the medical field. And no, like, disrespect intended. A lot of times when they got home, they were barely awake, you know, because of the hours. Or they live in the middle of the night. Yeah, exactly. And mad respect to Madoka's mom. You're very right. But Madoka's mom, the first thing that she says is that it's sad to say, but just because you keep trying doesn't mean that you're guaranteed a happy ending. In fact, sometimes people are so sure that their way is right that they become obstinate. The more they get like that, the further from happiness they go. But not ending up happy despite not doing anything wrong, that's awful. God, so fucking awesome. In a case like this, no one else can bring about a neat and tidy end to it. But would you still want to help resolve it, even if it wasn't a neat and tidy solution? Madoka's like, yes, of course, definitely. Then you should make a mistake for her. At this point, I was like, I'm loving what you're saying. And then she said, then you should make a mistake for her. And I was like, I want to hear. Like,
what do you mean by
yeah.
that? I needed more for that.
Your friend is trying so hard to do right that someone's got to make some mistakes for her. Sometimes you tell an awful lie or run away from something scary, and then later look back and realize that that was actually precisely the right thing to do. If you can see there's no way for your friend's problem to end but in disaster, it'd be better for her to crash and burn sooner rather than later. I want to talk about this in terms of what actually ended up happening. Because, like, me, you, Madoka, we had never thought that a mistake would end up in such a fucking crazy way that it did. But is this a better outcome because this happened?
Oh, that's a good point to go to. I mean, we went, after this conversation, went into whatever would happen next as whatever Madoka does that is in this umbrella of a mistake is going to be in some way, even in the future when Sayaka looks back, even if it's that late that she realizes, it's going to be something that's good for her. And while this is what is inevitably going to happen is horrific, it is good for all of them, not just Sayaka. It is good for Kyoko, Madoka, and Sayaka.
I'm worried that Sayaka is going to be pissed at Madoka because of this conversation saying, like, do you think she'll understand that I'm doing it for her own good? And Madoka's mom saying, sometimes they do, sometimes they don't understand, especially at first.
I would have a feeling that...
I warned you it wouldn't be a pretty ending.
I think I would have a feeling that Sayaka, upon waking up and being told what has happened, because she's kind of wakes up and she's like, what is happening? I have a feeling that that is a moment where she'll realize that this is more of a conversation that she and Madoka should have, and there needs to be more understanding here. There needs to be more understanding and conversation between her and Kyoko. Maybe there are more similarities or more common ground that they can have, and that this has given everyone the chance at almost a reset.
Man, Madoka's mom being like, you're a great girl, you don't tell lies, you always try your best to do the right thing. You've already passed your childhood with flying colors. Which is why it might be good for you, before you become an adult, to learn how to mess up too.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
This line, the lines about this, after all, wounds heal faster when you're young. That's not what really got me. If you learn how to fall well now, I'm sure it will help you later in life. That line itself is a lesson that I've heard before. I have heard it in other shows, and I think that it can't be said enough or used enough, because especially with a coming of age story, or a story where the main character is middle school age, even high school age, it could be really any age, it still is good to hear, as long as like you're young, that it becomes harder to deal with trauma, grief, hurt, pain when you're older, if you haven't already experienced those things and learned coping mechanisms, learned how to self-regulate, emotionally regulate yourself, learned how to love yourself and support yourself, learned what boundaries you need in place in order to ensure that the people around you are also going to be supportive of you, keep people around you that would be supportive of you. You don't have anything in place as a foundation and you have further to fall and a harder fall ahead of you. And I think that lesson, every time it's said, I always appreciate it, even though I have heard it before.
I like how quick and how it was actually worded here, like very specifically. I really liked that there were no words minced, or it wasn't hidden in some parable or some example of somebody else doing something. Like, we'd never know, I don't think. You ever think Madoka's mom was asked by Kyubey to become a magical girl?
I think that I wouldn't
when
go,
she was younger.
Right, I wouldn't go there, but I think the train of thought that you're on is exactly why we have this scene and why her mom's personality is the way that it is, because there needs to be that some sort of comfort in the comparison that is created there. We get from Madoka's dad that one of the thing he loves the most about Madoka's mom is her love and desire of trying her best. That's exactly, like, that conversation, this conversation that they're having together is completely about trying your best and how you will fall even if you try your best. And you need to know and what it feels like to mess up and still love yourself and get back up. And I think it coming from someone who we've already been told that is her most endearing and lovable factor, is how hard she continues to try, and that she loves herself and enough to continue trying even when things hurt, and that she has already worked herself up. We get this idea that she has learned how to fall and fall gracefully and get back up.
It'd be cool though.
It would be cool. I get you.
Yeah. Like I think that came from a place of like how serious Madoka's mom was talking to this little girl. Like, I knew what I went through when I was your age, and it was some tough shit. So like, I'm gonna treat you with that same respect. But
I would hope most parents would talk to their, even if we're not in a magical girl scenario where even the mom had experienced Kyubey as well. I would hope that any parent would, I have my alcohol, you have your orange juice, it's 1 a.m., I just got home from work, but there's some real things that I can teach you here, like, that I've gone through, that I can help you get through, and I'm listening.
Yo, Kyoko threatening to, like, break the hands and legs of Kamijo and telling Sayaka she should do it. You thought I'd like her. You thought I'd like her. I didn't
think you'd like her. I thought that there would be something about her as we get to know her that would endear you even slightly to her.
This is not endearing.
This scene is not endearing. There were a few moments that I found slightly endearing, and I would say the ending was the most endearing for her.
Question. What I have pulled up on the screen is her talking to Sayaka outside of Kamijo's house, right? And she's saying, didn't Mommy Tomoe even teach you that much? We get Sayaka's response, boom. We get a quick interlude of cars driving.
My thoughts were.
Yeah, right?
My thoughts were, what happened to her? We don't know exactly what wish she made. And even Kyubey doesn't answer or tell us at the beginning.
But also, what goes on at the end of the episode? Of there being a truck, a car, the highway, everything's happening above it, and then Sayaka's soul being thrown on top of a car moving too. Everything. It's fantastic. I definitely also needed to talk about like another instance that I had pulled up here, 1729. Madoka's like typing on a keyboard that's a projection.
Doesn't that already exist?
Yeah, of course. But this is the same keyboard layout I have. Right?
It is, yeah.
But I was more interested, honestly, even though the keyboard's sweet. I've seen it before in real life. It's not that big of a deal.
It might have been a big deal when this came out.
I needed to read what was written here. From Madoka, while thinking about her friend who might die.
Who might die, yes. We're in, okay.
Hey diddle diddle, the cat and the fiddle. The cow jumped over the moon. The little dog laughed to see such sport, and the dish run away with the spoon. Hey diddle diddle, fiddle, laugh. Is that her learning English?
I think so. I would say that that's probably what she is doing, and I would think that they would do nursery rhymes as a way to teach English.
Well, when we were learning Japanese, we were recommended to read children's books.
Yeah.
You know,
So exactly.
But interesting, right?
Mm-hmm.
I like that a lot.
What a choice. Hey diddle diddle.
I loved the environment that they were in when Kyoko and Sayaka were about to fight. I
These
thought it was
overpasses?
so cool. Yeah. It was so cool. Also, dude, Homer is such a badass. I love how quick she is, how quick she teleports, because we have Kyoko, like, just like, oh, this is so good. We get the shot of Kyoko being like, annoying jerks sure attract annoying friends. Boom, Homer is there. Then what kind of friends would you have, I wonder? Oh, she's so cool.
Oh, and sassy.
Yeah.
But like with this cold, blank expression on her face. Favorite character.
Okay. So after the soul gets thrown, the soul gem, it's because the furthest you magical girls can control your bodies would be within about a 100-meter radius. That's so fucking twisted, bro. That's so fucked up.
How many, like, magical girls have just died by this and by the fact that Kyubey won't intervene to go get their soul gem for them?
Picture this. You're like, this is something important. I wouldn't want it to get stolen. I'm going to keep it in a secret drawer in my room and then go to school. You're on your way to school, drop dead.
Yep.
Jesus Christ.
And the fact that obviously Kyoko has been a magical girl for a very long time, I would say. Enough that she should have learned something like this.
Yeah.
She has tons of experience.
I do love that Kyoko didn't know this either. And I also love that Homura immediately ran, to go after her.
I think the other thing I love about that is that Kyoko is not attached to Kyubey as if Kyubey is some sort of god.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Kyoko is like, what the fuck, you little creature? Like, what are you, why are you just now telling me this? What did you do to me?
Yeah. To complete the contract to become a magical girl, what I do is rip your souls out of your bodies and turn them into soul gems. That definitely helps. Think about what we got last episode, and we got to see it with Sayaka.
And we didn't really love how it looked.
Yeah. Now you've made us into zombies or something, but isn't it handy this way? Jesus. Even if your body's heart gets crushed or you bleed out your very last drop of blood, you can just heal your bodies with magic and get right back up. So long as your soul gem remains unharmed, you're basically invincible.
So, okay, question here. Is there a time limit of returning the soul gem to the body?
That's why I was so worried that even though Homura got it, it wouldn't work. I don't, because of, like, Sayaka's, like, initial response when waking up, but I don't know. It could be, I have no idea.
I feel that there wouldn't be, and it would just be more so if something happened to your soul gem. But also, if no one knew, say, like you had said with your example of what if you left it in your room and then you went off to school, who else in your life, all of them live rather isolated lives where they don't work together.
Mm-hmm.
Who else is going to know to put that in your hand? Your parents are going to bury this lifeless dead body of yours. They're not going to bury you with this thing that you left in a random drawer in your desk at home.
Yeah.
How many magical girls, like, empty bodies that are shells are buried? And random soul gems in, like, storage units.
But Kyubey says this rarely happens, right?
Yeah.
Like,
I guess everyone just normally keeps it with them because of how important it is.
He also, like, touches on, like, everybody always reacts this way. Like, the fuck?
Humans.
There was a line that I can't find. I must have the wrong timestamp, but about exterior hardware.
It was around 21.
I had 2104, but around there. We put them in these compact, easy to correct forms instead. Then
to complete
the line
the
that I had already said. Fragile bodies or magical girls. Their so-called bodies that you possess are really just exterior hardware. What a fucking line.
This very mechanical doll ventriloquist dummy. I mean, that's really what it is a ventriloquist dummy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you, the soul gem, your soul inside of that is controlling the body.
That's...
while keeping you safe.
It's it's genuinely a terrifying thought.
It's so interesting because yes, like there's more complexities to it than what might be, I don't know, necessary,
Mm-hmm.
because like your body can still get injured the same way, but you can heal it because you have magic.
Mm-hmm.
But you're removing your soul in order to have like an extra level of protection and ability to, oh, you have to remove it so you can utilize magic, because human bodies aren't made to be able to like control and possess magic. So they're being created into a version of themselves that can be a vessel for magic, where they almost become, I wrote it down, they thought they were human. They still thought they were human.
Yeah.
They still thought magical girls were humans, and now they're finding out you live in this thing. You are no longer human. You are this little soul gem thing. Existential crisis.
Because the furthest you magical girls can control your bodies would be within about 100 meters. Do you think that that's at all, like the 100-meter radius? Two things. One, do you think that's just a flat rule, or do you think it's dependent on like the magical girl and what their inward potential is? And then two, how do you think meters work within labyrinths like themselves? Like if you lost your soul gem at one part of the labyrinth and you went far enough into it, could you exceed that 100-meter radius?
That's a good question. Like, does the labyrinth exist with the same sense of time and distance and scale as the real world? I would say probably. Just for the continuity, just for the continuing of this idea that they're just controlling these dummies of themselves.
This is like the most terrifying part of the show yet.
It's like your body's not your own anymore because you can be removed from it.
Jesus, man. What little thing could happen to literally... I think I need more, like... I hope that one of the first things that comes up next episode is, what did you see? Like, to Sayaka. Like, what was that like for you? You know? I want to know what Sayaka's memory, if anything, about when she was, you know, when her body wasn't active, what that was like for her.
Mm-hmm.
All right. That's all I have you.
Yep.
Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and we hope to see you next time.